This is a podcast about both having autism and living with someone who has autism. My mom is Sonya, and I'm Josh, and this is Josh Has Autism.
Hey everybody, welcome to Josh Has Autism. It is just me today, and I know you're probably going to miss Josh, but he is not doing so well. Since we moved to Virginia, it's been very difficult to get to see therapists and to see psychiatrists, and even to see a regular primary care doctor because there was a shortage, and then there was some turnover there, and then in this area where we live, I guess everybody needs a psychiatrist, everybody needs a therapist, so we've been on a waiting list. And actually what happened, even more so accurate than being on a waiting list, was that the primary care doctors gave me a list of therapists and psychiatrists to connect with, ones that are insurance, that accepted our insurance. And anyway, they didn't have any availability. And then the one that did, I was, asking specifically, do they, treat people on the spectrum? And they wouldn't answer my questions. They wanted Josh's entire history before they would even let me know if they would see him. And so I said, no thanks. So there was one that, might have had availability, but he couldn't go in and see them because I wasn't going to do that. Anyway, we've been working with the primary care doctors, and that's plural because since we've moved here, we've had 4. The turnover has been so high at this particular facility. It's a really nice place. People are super nice, very friendly. It's just, I guess people coming and going, and I don't know why, but so it's been difficult to maintain any continuity when those doctors have changed. But because we moved, and he's didn't have the doctors, didn't have the the therapies available to him, which is huge. I know Josh, balks at having to go to therapists, but it really does make a difference for him. It's a way for him to figure out exactly what he needs. It's a different angle, different viewpoint, and they help out a lot. But that hasn't happened since we've been here because of the situation I just described. And the result is essentially Josh not functioning now. And I give you specifics. I ask him to take care of his hygiene. Instead of doing that, which is the case right now, instead of taking care of that, he lay down on his bed. And normally, when I ask him to do something around here, he can follow at least 2 steps of instruction. When he's on the ball, he can almost handle 3, but at least 2. And right now, he's not able to follow through on a 1-step direction. And like I just mentioned, his hygiene is not happening. Nothing is. He's not interested in social gatherings. I know everything is online now, but even the autistic groups that he enjoys so much, he's not interested in participating in those get-togethers. He's not even able to not just stay on task, but just kind of even being aware that there is a task. It's not happening. And when I bring that to his attention and I ask him to take care of something, it just doesn't happen. And so there is no time management because he's sleeping constantly and just doesn't feel well. And I, of course, anybody that listens to us, I always ask Josh how he feels about things, what's happening. And he said that he doesn't know that he feels more depressed, but it's more intense. And I asked him to elaborate on that, and he said that it's hard for him to tell, but he thinks that possibly his medication, excuse me, is not effective anymore. So I talked to the doctor about that, about, whether his medication was at a therapeutic level or not. And, Josh is already on 3 medications. And one of them helps with the autism, and there's others for depression and OCD, another one for ADD. And the doctors want to add a 4th medication and to specifically target the depression. And what happens with autism, if you have a diagnosis of autism, it's not just the autism. There's always these other things that kind of, like they where do they fall in? So when we're having to describe what's happening, where do we call it autism, depression, OCD, ADD, anxiety disorder? What it's sort of surprising, I think, to understand that so many of these behaviors fall under the autism heading. Those things are the lack of organization and time management and attention to task and details, self-monitoring, and even the regulating of emotions, not, and that's something I gotta tell you. I think that a lot of us just don't do well anyway. Like, I include me in this also, because sometimes we will, put this in label it as something different other than how we truly feel or what we're truly experiencing. And, we fall into patterns and, things that we just sometimes become a habit of doing certain things. But it is a difficult thing to always understand how we feel. And that, on that level, is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about deficits in executive functioning. And that, for Josh, is the toughest thing in general. But right now, it's just non-existent. The other day we were talking, and I think it was the last couple podcasts, because, Social Security has really been a big thing lately. And I had asked him about what did he want, on the podcast and off the podcast. Been asking Josh, what does he want? What he like? What does he kind of envision? How does he think about the future? Does he think about living arrangements now? And how he feels on a daily basis, what he's able to accomplish, and all of those things matter to me. I care about how he feels about things. And so when the Social Security came up again for review and redetermination, I didn't just say, well, he's got autism, of course I'm going to do this. Because, I guess, okay, part of me did. Part of me did, because, my son is autistic. And there's that feeling that I have that I've always got to protect him. I've always got to take care of him. I've always got to make sure that things are in place. And I think for a lot of us that have kids on the spectrum, we feel this urgency of making sure things are right. With that understanding and that concern that one day we're not going to be here to do this. So for me anyway, while I am here, I step in and try to make sure that he's got everything he needs. But I try to include him in the decision making. In this particular case, it was about, is he still in need of receiving SSI benefits from the Social Security Administration, or is it time that he, that he moves on. I mean, we may not have a choice on this, because they might decide to take it away. And after I listened to him, it's what happened was I realized that I always include Josh in the process. And then inevitably he disappears and I end up making the decision on his behalf and without him. So we did a podcast last week that was, I believe it was last week, where I asked him what he felt, and he has expressed some concern about always being on disability, because that's not how, those are not words that he's always stuck with, around here anyway. But the idea of him being off of disability, I think, in his mind, he feels like, well, it kind of controls what he can do. And if he didn't have that confinement, then he could do a great number of things. He could make as much money as he wants. He can, just fill in the blanks there, because that's kind of endless. So if I listen to what he says, then I don't continue with the process. If I watch his behavior, I have no choice but to continue with the process. Because as much as I want for him to be okay, and as much as I just a sec. As much as I like to think that he could persevere and he can overcome and he can be successful, there keeps on being these moments where he disappears. And those moments, that's why the last job the job that he had didn't work out. So if he's out there without a safety net, does it make a difference? Does that make him sore? Does that make him, just take off? Is that what's holding him back? I'd like to think so. In his mind, I think, he said that, so that's a thought that he's having. But when I see that one minute he's able to have a conversation and you guys know Josh, you hear Josh, he's brilliant. He's able to express how he feels. He's able to explain what it's like having autism. He's able to explain what something feels like in his body. And that's fantastic, and I'm so grateful that he's able to do that. And what you don't see is him not being effective, not staying on task, not able to complete sentences, not being able to, he's been in bed now for a couple of days, just not functioning. But again, asking him to one step task, and it's not getting accomplished. And that's freaking scary to me. It's sad and it hurts my heart. So when these people from Social Security it seems like they're playing games, but the package got sent off today, and I filled it all out, included documentation supporting the fact that Joshua needs continuing services, and explained everything. He does have, I don't know if I finished the earlier thought that I had when I said that he doesn't have a therapist here. Well, finally, on Monday, he has an appointment with a psychiatrist and a therapist that deal with depression and OCD and ADD. And then 2 weeks from now, he's going to see somebody that specializes in autism. So that is in the works. They did, the medication is ready to be picked up, from the pharmacy for him to get that fourth medication on board. And I have I'm really interested in alternative treatments. One of the things that happens when your kids get older, even when they have autism, is that, they express their opinions, and I've tried really hard to get Josh to go along with some alternative treatments, and it's, oh my gosh, it's a struggle. He's just not interested, doesn't want to do it, and add that to everything else, and it just has to get in line. So what was I telling you then? Oh yeah, so he does have that coming up, but Social Security wants to, we filled everything out, but it's very, very complicated. And what I did want to say is that there are some forms that are very important to fill out when you go to, when you put in an appeal. And I feel like what we're probably going to do is, I got to make sure that that's okay for me to do it, but I would like to put that on my website in order for anybody that needs that can't find it, to be able to get that, and just, maybe it's just a link that's on my site, and then you can just download the paperwork that you need. Because what happened was, so it's not just the stress of this, like the whole disability review and reevaluation that Social Security Administration demanded, but it was that we fill out paperwork that was supposed to be included but wasn't. And so, and it was demanded, like we had to fill this out, and it wasn't included. And so I called the representative that generated that report. I called and left him a message 3 times, letting him know that this was not included. Please send this to me or return my phone call so I know where I can find this. And he never, to this day, he hasn't called back. Other than that representative, from Social Security, I talked to 3 others. And one of them said, yeah, I don't know where you can get that. Maybe I don't have it. Maybe you can find it. So then somebody else said, yeah, what's your email address? And then we talked a little bit more, and I said, okay, great. So I can give you my email address and you can email it to me? No, I can't do that. But I can send it to, into the office, because now COVID-19 is going on. So now we're in, delays because of that. So people are working from home, send that into the office, and then it would be sent to us, and it still has not showed up. And the other person said, well, I don't think that you can find that online. I don't think that's online. So, and I don't, that person said that they would send it as well, and I didn't get it. So it's been very convoluted. It's been very frustrating. It's been stressful and overwhelming, and but I did it. And all that not only all of that kind of type of craziness, but the whole idea is, does Josh want this? Does he not want this? And then to see the very clear need right in front of me that regardless of what either of us wants, this is something that is necessary. And it's important to go through all of this in order to try to get him the support that he needs. And it's just been, it got mailed off today, and because they didn't send me the paperwork that was supposed to, the form that was supposed to come, it's anybody might know what I'm talking about. I'll just tell you, it's an SSA 795 benefit continuation form. That's the one that was missing. That's the one that lets them know that you want to continue with services, even during the appeal process. And it was, like I said, it wasn't there, but we got it all. Dave was able to find it. We got the whole package. We sent it off. But because that wasn't sent to us, that's the form that I asked 6 times to please send to me, because even though it was listed as being in the package and it was highlighted as being in the package, it wasn't there. Because we didn't get it, when you put in an appeal, you have a certain time limit that you have 10 days from the, that's it. You have 10 days to come up with all the paperwork. There's a whole bunch of processes. The process has a whole bunch of steps, but the one that I'm on right now, I had 10 days to accomplish something, which was to get this back to them on the 10th day, by the 10th day. Because they didn't send me the information I needed, Dave took the package and went up to the post office today and had to spend $38 to make sure that this is in their office by that date. And like I say, had somebody from Social Security office, helped me out with the questions that I was asking. I wasn't ambiguous. It was pretty clear. I needed that form. That's all I needed. And it didn't help out. So, it just took a while. That's just one part of the headache from Social Security, because I think we expressed before that they took out his diagnosis of autism entirely and they replaced it with learning disabled. And I have a huge problem with that, because I don't feel like they generated misinformation, and then that's what he was evaluated on, and it just shouldn't be acceptable. It should not be the way that it is. There's many aspects. There's too much to go on to, and I would probably just get lost and confuse everybody and myself in the process. So let me just say that there were so many discrepancies in this packet, and I'll mention one more, then we'll move on. And that one more is that they said that Joshua has never worked before. Well, all of you know that he did. And, each time that he got paid, we took that stub to Social Security. So, it's just so frustrating. So I tell them, you know that he worked because you have his pay stubs. And so one thing after the next just led us to reach out to, actually Josh's dad did, which was awesome. He reached out to our local representative, and immediately somebody from his office called me. She got information from me as far as what we're dealing with, and she said to me, she's checking into it. If it's a local issue, local government issue, she will call me back. If it's not, she's going to pass it on to our congressman. And we live in the 3rd District in Virginia, so our congressman is Bobby Scott. They would pass it on to his office. So that same day, I got a call from the congressman Bobby Scott's office, and they're helping us out with this now. We're including them. And what the package that I just sent to Social Security also went to the congressman's office. And today is Saturday, and so this stuff will be seen on Monday. But I encourage people to do that. If you're having issues with Social Security, the way that they're treating you, go to your local representative, and they will guide you to where it is that you need to go. Social Security is a federal agency. That's why we got bumped up to the congressman's office. And I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know. I think probably that they probably review it the same way, but it just gets their attention. But having somebody on our side certainly feels better than just me. It feels better to have somebody kind of in our corner. So it doesn't always feel like that. People, people just have kids, or they adopt kids, and I think that sometimes we have this vision of what that looks like. And, sometimes it takes a lot of know-how and a stick-to-itiveness, because if you just can't be on the sidelines when you have kids that have are on the spectrum. You don't really hang out on the sidelines. You have to always be involved. And, I've not been shy about saying I didn't think that I would have to be involved, 31 years later. I thought that we would be beyond this. And some days it's really tough. I have my moments of self-pity where I go, I just want to, I would just like to go through a day and just take care of my plans, my goals, my stuff. But I just move through it. That's part of it. I just move through it. But what I do notice that even at this age, if I do that, if I am absorbed in my stuff, and then I lift my head up and look around, who knows what I'm going to find, whether it's 1 in the afternoon and he hasn't gotten out of bed yet, or hasn't accomplished any of the responsibilities he needs to address. One thing that I know that's happened that with this shutdown is that he wears a mask, and he makes fun of me wearing my mask because Dave, my husband Dave, made me this mask and has these rubber bands on the side, and they pinch my ears, and Josh says it makes my ears look like cauliflower. So he laughs at me every time I wear my mask. But we all have our masks. They're homemade masks, and it's important for Josh to get out and walk, and stay away from people, and wear his mask, but walk. And he's not even doing that anymore. So there's just a a disconnect on, what it is reasonable to think that he would be doing based on his past abilities and what he's doing now. And it's scary and it's uncomfortable. And because we're dealing with that right now, I think that I'm angrier at Social Security than, I would be angry anyway. Okay, so let's just say I'm angrier. I'm super mad, furious at Social Security for doing this right now when it's such a struggle for him to just function. And, them doing what they're doing. Well, anyway, I sent it in. I applied for put in the appeal. I applied for his disability to continue. I think this is the second step in the process. This is like the fourth packet that they've sent me. Packets are really like novel size. But it's like the fourth packet, but in the series of the appeal, I think this is I think the second step. And the reason I say that is because I submitted something saying that I'm appealing it. And then they sent me the packet where I have to fill all the paperwork out so that they can review it again to see what they think. And it's exhausting and brings up all kinds of emotions. Like I said, I have 2 kids. I have Josh, who's 31, and his sister Bug, who is 28. And I worry about Bug too, just like I worry about her 2 kids. And it's different though. It's different. It's not as intensive and constant and not as overwhelming. I can be there for her. I can have, help her out in different things, but it's just different. It's not the level of care that is required of me on Josh's behalf. And so, getting back to me talking to him about what he wants and what he would like to happen, I just realized this whole process is that, I really try to look at him with all the potential that is possible. And I see him. I see this spark, I see his grace. I see this gentle nature of his and this insight. And I'm so proud of Josh. I'm so proud of him. And I realize that when I ask him what he wants me to do on his behalf, I always end up making my own decision. Because his decisions change. They look different day to day. And sometimes when he answers me, when he's very together, it makes perfect sense. And then, the next day, he's not sure. Or he's uncomfortable about something, or it just fluctuates so much. And through all this process, I guess that's like just a byproduct of it, is that I'm realizing that while I talk to him and ask him his opinion, it is still up to me, just like when he was a little boy, that I had to make the decisions for him. And I guess that just makes me sad. That realization that he's not capable of that right now. Today, he's not capable of that. So I'm still the one that's guiding his care, and it just makes me sad. Yeah, it makes me sad, and I just wanted more for him at this point. I didn't think that he would still need this much guidance and hands-on, every step of the way. And I don't I don't know how this sounds. I don't know how this is coming across. I'm not aggravated by it. It hurts. It hurts because while I'm filling out all of these papers, these nonsense, these questions, and it's incredible. I'm having to really think about Josh. I'm having to really think, what can he do? What does he struggle with? Where is he at? Was he, what does he need? What can he do on his own? And when I see it in my own writing on these, as I fill these papers out, I realize that he has a tough time of life on a daily basis. And so we fill out the paperwork and send it in. So that's what we did. That's where we are. And I got wonderful feedback from people after the last podcast. So let me just take some time here to say thank you so much. I got emails from people that had gone off Social Security, some that stayed on, some that it worked both ways, some that it didn't. And your messages mean everything to me. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate it. And like I said, it's not today. So if you go onto my website, we have to make sure that it's okay that we put these up there first. But that's my plan anyway. If we're able to do that, we will have the documents that you can download if you find yourself in this kind of situation, or at least something that directs you to a place, gives you a link where you can go and find it and download it. So hopefully that will help you out. I hope you don't get in this situation, but if you do, maybe that can help you out. That's all I've got today. Hopefully Josh will be back with me next week. I know what I was going to tell you is that a wonderful, wonderful person named Richard is doing did a podcast with me, and it was going to go up today, and it just felt like, since this was sent in, that this has been the focus, that I wanted to follow up and let everybody know how this went and what the experience was like, and to let everybody know that I'm trying to get some help there, if we're able to. But anyway, Richard's going to be on. He was supposed to be on this week, so now I don't know if it's going to be next week or the one after, because I really like Josh being on with me. So we might take next week, and Josh will be on with me. Then the week after that, Richard will be there on with us. You're gonna really like him. He is he's really, really a wonderful person. He's autistic, and he's married, and you're just gonna like him. So let me just wrap things up here. Thanks for listening, everybody, and like I said, for your encouragement along the way. And my website is sonyaking.com. It's SONYAKING. And there's a blog that goes along with the podcast every week. That's up there. RJ Fagan is my son-in-law, and he does the artwork, all the illustrations. He's fantastic, and he can be hired. If anybody's looking for an artist, he can be hired. So he's really, really good. But please listen to, you can find us, let's see, on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, a whole bunch of them. But again, you can always go to my website and get it. But anyway, so thanks so much, everybody. I'm going to probably go have a drink. I won't. It's in the middle of the day. I can wait. But I know what I'll do instead. I'll take the puppies out for a walk. That's what I'm going to go do. All right. So I hope everybody's staying safe. And take care of each other. I'm sending you a bunch of hugs. And I love you. Bye.